Tucked away in the depths of the woods at the end of a narrow service road, in full view of a bustling interstate highway in Connecticut, lies one of the strangest mysteries this country has to offer. Forgotten and ignored by the majority and overlooked by the rest, this anomaly that sits in Waterbury slowly succumbs to nature's grasp. Peering through the trees off the highway, you can catch glimpses of a rugged stone cliff adorned with curious objects poking out of the rock, almost invisible unless you know what you're looking for. A giant throne sits atop a cliff, looming over all that sits below. Evidence of a once lush garden can still be found scattered about, though now overrun by unruly plants and flowers that have claimed their territory and merged seamlessly with the forest. It is both enchanting and eerie, leaving visitors with a sense of having just stepped into a surreal world. As if by magic, this haunting place transports you into another realm before reminding you that it was all just a dream. It is a place that few know about and even fewer dare to explore. I am talking about, of course, the fairy village of Waterbury, Connecticut. Do you believe in ghosts? Join us on a journey through America's dark and haunted past as we explore the ghost stories and folklore that have been passed down for generations. What scares you? Let's find out. I'm Christopher Feinstein.
And I'm Megan Feinstein.
And this is Haunted American History. So, fairies, little folk, fair folk, little
Fair
people.
folk.
There is a lot of different words that are used to describe these complex and mystical beings.
Are pixies the same as fairies? No, right?
I don't know.
I'm gonna have to do a quick.
You start every show asking the only question that I don't have the answer to.
Well,
based on the topic that I was researching.
This is why I'm here. I'm asking the questions that the listeners might have as
well, guess what? I don't know. And you know what? It's funny too. When I was putting together things for this episode, I'm like, she's going to ask a question and I'm not going to know what it is. So let me try and find, think. Let me think like Megan and figure out what she's going to ask me. So I'll have the answer this time.
I still get you every time.
You got me. Pixies didn't even shoot into my head.
Pixies are a type of fairy, according to Google.
There we go. Question answered.
So there we go.
Do you know the origins of fairies?
You know what? I don't. I just know there's a lot of folklore, both here and internationally, about fairies, though.
It's your boys is what started where the fairy legends began. Celtic mythology.
My homeland?
Yeah, Irish folk.
Nice Irish folk.
It's I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce this because it's going to be the Tuatha de Duanan.
Oh, you're like saying Irish words. I don't know much Gaelic, so I can't help you.
Yeah, so
I wish I did. It's something I want to study, but
they're often considered, that word I destroyed, considered the ancestors of fairies. They were a race of deities that inhabited Ireland long before being defeated by the Malaysians. Is that a thing? What happened? You threw something on the floor? What'd you throw on the ground? Did the fairies get you? Did the ghost finally come and claim one of us? Oh, the AirPod came flying out of your ear. Yeah, those things are terrible.
Sure did.
Is it the Malaysians? Is that who are the human ancestors of the Irish? Malaysians?
Like from Malaysia?
Milesians? Malaysia? Is that how you Malaysians?
Spell it again?
Milesians.
I don't think it's pronounced Malaysians.
Milesians? That's how you spell Malaysians, I think.
The final race to settle in Ireland.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool.
it's the name of the race of gods for.
Race of gods.
Is that what it's pronounced? Is that how it's pronounced though? The sons of Malaysians. Can't be the same as, well, I don't know.
Hold on. I'm gonna see.
See what it's pronounced like.
Yep. But
Well, anyway, while you're figuring that out, they were a race of deities who inhabited
Milesians.
Milesians. Oh, like
Milesians or Milesians.
Milesians. Yeah, I'm saying Malaysians don't sound right.
No, that was like
That's a
from
place. From
was like
right. That's what I mean.
Milesians.
Milesians. So those folks were the origins, well, not the origin, the ancestors of fairies. They were the race of gods and deities who inhabited Ireland long before being defeated. Nope, that's not true. I lied about that. That too, a person was defeated by the Milesians.
Are my glasses too reflective?
They're so
for this?
reflective. They're the most reflective. That's fine though. You can leave them on.
Do I need to just be blind for a little bit?
No, I need you to fact check me. So you can't be blind.
No, I mean I can see, but I think it's a little distracting. But while we're speaking of Ireland, I have my claddagh ring on.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah.
Well, they were defeated, and they were said to have been, after their defeat, they were said to have been chased or retreated into the hills and mounds, becoming another word I'm not going to be able to pronounce, Owisai, which translates as to the people of the mounds or the people of the hills, and they're often were associated with fairies. Now, the Celts believed in another world, which is essentially like the upside down. It's like a parallel dimension that parallels our own, and that's where the fairies lived. But unlike the upside down from Stranger Things, this realm was considered a place of beauty and a place of eternal youth, and it was accessible only through fairy mounds or caves or like underwater domains. So that was the only way you could be able to enter this other world, not be snatched out of your bed or by my man Vecna.
I can't.
So aside from the Celts, there was also Norse and even German influence into the legends of fairies, which really there, with the Norse, it was elves, and with the Germans, it was dwarfs. And they shared, the same kind of characteristics. Elves were often depicted as, beings of holy light, and the dwarfs were associated with the earth and the mounds and caves and things like that, and crafting. And these beings then, these legends later influenced the medieval conceptions of fairies and what fairies are. So I don't know what you think about that. If you have any opinion on that matter.
I mean, I don't really.
Oh, great. So I'm just going to keep going then.
I think keep going. I'm taking it in.
All right, take it in.
Yeah.
So in German mythology, there is a thing called the Wild Hunt. And it was a ghostly procession. That's what it's described as, led by supernatural figures, which were often associated with fairies. And during the Wild Hunt, if you happen to come across the Wild Hunt, the legend goes that it could bring misfortune or death to anyone who witnessed it. Because if you witnessed this, you were contributing to the belief in fairies being malevolent. That the Wild Hunt was basically frowned upon in German mythology. That it's like an evil thing. And if you came across it, you were like, oh no, I'm seeing this evil dance in front of me. And I'm going to run and tell everybody that this is a bad thing that's happening, when in reality, it probably didn't exist. But in reality, it was considered a blessing to see it. But it kind of got warped in the translations and the tales that people told. Because honestly, if I saw a ghost parade outside my house, I'm not thinking that's a fun thing.
No, I mean, how could you, right? Because we're so ingrained to think ghosts and spirits are scary.
Right.
And, if you if you see let alone a parade, but one ghost.
One ghost. Never mind a parade. Never mind a parade. One. I'm on the lookout for one around these parts.
Apparently we invited at least one into the home.
At least one. Oh, I didn't tell you.
What?
You went somewhere yesterday, right? Where'd you go?
I don't know. Where'd I
You
go?
weren't. I don't know. You weren't home at some point yesterday, I think.
Okay. Where'd I go?
I don't remember, but it was like very soon after you left the house. I went to the bathroom downstairs, and I
Okay.
heard walking upstairs.
You didn't tell me this.
I forgot. I was scared out of my wits.
Oh, jeez.
And to the point where Yoshi, our dog, barked because it sounded like walking upstairs. Like
What time of day?
the
Was
floor
Corey
creaking. This
upstairs?
was no. You guys left. Where'd you go yesterday?
I don't
Did you go to
know.
the store?
You and I went
She was
no.
napping.
Okay.
You went to get your glasses.
Oh, I went to pick up my super
Your
reflective
Your super
glasses.
reflective glasses. And she
Oh.
was sleeping. And there was definitely creaks of footsteps up here.
Yeah, that's not okay.
I said, and where the bathroom downstairs is, it's like either this room that I'm in or
Mhm.
the bedroom next to it. That's like right over where that bathroom is.
Yeah.
So that's where I heard like it was like someone was standing and like shuffling their feet or something back. Like it
Oh, boy.
wasn't like marching through the house or like it was like it felt like it was very isolated in one area. Forgot to tell you that little fact yesterday. Because I came up then. I said, I'm going to go see what the fuck this is. Because I thought it was the baby. I checked the camera and it wasn't. And I checked the cameras outside. I said, maybe it was maybe someone came on the porch to drop a package off. Sometimes the house like shifts a little bit. You hear noises in different spots. But I checked all the cameras. There was no motion outside, nothing. And Yoshi ran to the steps.
He ran to the stairs?
Yeah, he came to the steps and like growled.
Come on.
And I was in the bathroom. And I
And
said,
he doesn't do that. He only yells
doesn't
at
do that.
people outside. He
Right.
never freaks out like.
He didn't freak out. Like he came like he like was like I mean, what's going on?
Really?
Yeah. Totally forgot.
I
to
don't
tell
even
you
know
that.
what to say to this. Yeah, no,
And I
there's
came upstairs and I came in the room and I was like, there's going to be someone standing in here. I know it, but everything
there's a ghost
fine.
here.
Everything looked fine. Every room was fine. I said, come on, what are you doing, buddy?
We're recording during the day right now, too.
Right.
So,
I know. I was going to say, no more nighttime. These are nap time recordings.
This is a nap time recording, guys.
I ain't coming in here when it's creepy.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, now let's talk about the demonic influence of fairies, which was spread, during it was with the spread of Christianity that many pagan beliefs were then reinterpreted. And fairies that were once revered or feared as powerful beings were then often being demonized during this. And the church sometimes associated with fairies. So they associated fairies with fallen angels who were neither good enough for heaven or bad enough for hell. So they were kind of just relegated to earth. And that's
it's like fairy purgatory.
Right. Fairy purgatory is earth, which, if I was
Which
a fairy, if I was like a
this
supernatural being,
purgatory.
could be.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And then, you go into the medieval times and the concept of fairies then evolved during the medieval period, particularly in romantic literature. And they were then portrayed as magical beings, often beautiful, but, sometimes dangerous, who can bestow either like gifts or curses on people. The literary tradition helped then solidify the image of fairies as like enchanting and mystical creatures. And that's where that was born during like the medieval romance, like of literature and things like that that came out during that time. That's where the images of fairies as being like whimsical and having to do with love and beauty kind of
You
was
love the
born.
word whimsical and
Whimsical. I love
whimsy.
whimsical. I do. Whimsical. It's fun. It's
Whimsical.
fun to
Uh,
say.
um, remember when we learned when we got Yoshi, who's a corgi, what the white patch on his
Oh
back
yeah. The white they
represents? It's a fairy saddle.
fairy saddle. Yeah.
It's where the fairies would sit because corgis were, I guess,
Apparently
friends with fairies, and it was their mode
fairies,
of
yeah.
transport.
Yeah. So
Little tidbit.
so yeah, it's nice. It's fun. So, aside from these influences of folklore and religion, and the fairy legend kind of absorbed these elements from local legends and local gods across Europe. For example, in England, fairies were often conflated with spirits like Puck or Hob, who those are like mischievous spirits who could help or hinder humans. So those stories of those two spirits were kind of then wrapped up into the fairy legend, and those entities became fairies when they didn't start that way.
Hmm.
And in a lot of different cultures, fairies were believed to live close to humans. Like you heard stories of like fairy houses in barns or homes, and they were often um regarded as like household spirits. The Scottish did that. The and like the Scandinavians, they had fairies that they thought would perform household tasks, and
Hmm.
it became superstition to leave. Oh, you got to leave out something for the fairies because
I
they're
would
gonna have
love if a
a
fairy lived
fairy
here and did
house.
some household
Yeah, if
chores.
you're hanging around, pick up a broom. Yeah.
Endless amount of dog fur from our double coated
Oh my
dog
god.
and a
Yeah,
robo vacuum.
don't ever get a corgi.
Uh,
They just literally when the sun hits him, you see if he walks through and the sun's like coming in through a window, you just see a trail of dog hair coming off him as he walks.
yeah, literally just falls off him, and it's bad right now because he's shedding his summer coat.
Yeah.
Like, he sheds all year, don't get me wrong. It's that joke where, people with double coated dogs will know. It's like, "Yeah, my dog sheds twice a year for 6 months each shed." It's
Right.
like it's just never ending shedding, but it does get worse when they shed their summer coat and then when they shed their winter coat. Right now, he's shedding his summer coat, and it's just like like, it
Yeah.
just, like, flies off him.
Yeah. Yeah. Then the fairy legend then had a revival during the Victorian era. And it was during the 19th century, the Romantic movement and the growing interest in folklore, led to this. And it was writers like Yeats and the Brothers Grimm who
Mhm.
collected and popularized fairy tales. And artists depicted fairies as whimsical, ethereal beings.
It's amazing how much history and variations of fairies there are and where the
Oh yeah,
origins and everything.
it's forever. It traces back forever, as long
Like a
as there was
fairy
stories being
fairy
told.
yeah, or, just it's crazy. It really
Yeah,
is crazy. That's probably it's one of the things you don't realize, I guess, where so many variations come from, but
right,
you can pinpoint where fairies
right.
originated from. But
They're a blend of pagan beliefs or medieval reinterpretations, or it
yeah,
goes back forever.
so many different pagan traditions too, I feel like that kinda just evolved over the years and decades and
Yeah.
centuries and things like that. It's wild, yeah.
Yeah, and how it's just like with every other folklore, every other ghost story that comes down, they evolve over the centuries.
Mhm.
Influences changing by whatever religious or social or literary contexts are retelling these stories. So you get, the varied fairy folklore that we all know about today. And, everybody has a different level of fairy folklore. Right, well, that brings us to Connecticut. And what is one of allegedly the creepiest place in Connecticut, and that's the Little People Village. It's tucked away in Now they say it's in the woods of Middlebury, but people say it's really in, what was the other place? It's Waterbury. So it's Middlebury, Waterbury. They say it's on that town line. So if you're from Connecticut and you're familiar with that area, that's one or the other. I don't want to. So I'm just going to call them both the Middlebury and Waterbury Little Fairy Village is what it is. And it is literally a complex of crumbling doll-sized houses that are made of stone, and that just a lot of people don't really know where they came from. There's a rumor that it is the legacy. They're saying insanity is what brought it on. That's literally what it says. Now, the story, there's many versions of the stories that go back literally about a century, about a man and his wife, and the wife may or may not have been a witch, who were living peacefully in Middlebury / Waterbury. I don't know which exactly where it was. And the woman started seeing small fairies in the woods around her home. So now, obviously, this woman was freaking out because there's tiny little creatures running around her house in the woods. So instead of reacting violently or aggressively towards these little creatures, she decided to accommodate them. And she and her husband built a tiny village in the woods of their home for the fairies.
So is that confirmed, or is this the story?
Now, this is a story. There's a couple of stories.
Okay.
As the years passed and the village grew, the enchantment that was going on with this town kind of fell into madness. And they say she was, well, the other variation is that the man this is what was going on with the madness kind of thing. Well, the madness started with the witch, or the supposed witch, and that the small town kind of took the small village, and the fairies kind of took over the people's house and drove them crazy. And it literally led to their anguished demise, that they were essentially killed by the fairies. That's
good.
That's the ones that they built a home for.
Because I was just Googling imaging the photos, because I see you have one photo in the
There's
corner
one
here.
little,
So I wanted to see more, and it looks like it was probably really super cute. It's crazy to think about if the origin truly is a woman who saw fairies and then they built this little village for them. I mean, that's wild, because this would be like, if this was fixed up and new and something created today, this would be a little girl's dream. Could you imagine even our
forget it.
2-year-olds playing with this?
Yeah. It's just
This is
little
cool.
dollhouses in the middle of the woods.
I wonder if this inspired, you know how you see today people buy things to like stick on their tree, or at the base, the trunk of a tree in your yard, or in the woodwork of your house, and it's like a fairy door or a little roof overhang to make it look like the entrance to a home. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
So I wonder if this kind of inspired that today, because I know there are a ton of parents out there who do that with their kids, and it's like, oh, the fairies are coming to visit, and they leave little spaces in their wall decorated looking like the entrance into a tiny home. So that would be cool.
Yeah. The other variation of the story is that it was a man in a home in the woods who was living by himself, and he built himself a stone house, and he heard voices, and the voices commanded him to build a village. It's a Field of Dreams aspect. If you build it, they will come.
Whoa.
And eventually Now the story goes that he was driven crazy by these voices, which he thought were only in his head, and he took his own life
Oh,
in the woods among the fairy village.
come on. We've talked about suicide way too much the last few episodes.
Yeah, I know. It's
This
literally
is
every episode.
so sad.
So, as such, when things like these stories get passed down, many people who now know about this and visit it claim it's haunted by either the spirits of the fairies or the ghosts of those who were tormented by them, the
Oh,
husband and wife or the man. And they say people who are very perceptive to energies and things like that, that they feel a strong negative sensation, strong negative energies around this area. Others claim that if you kind of linger in the woods long enough, you start to hear voices of the little people yourself. And that if you stay for too long, they'll infect you, infect your mind, and you too will soon be plunged into the insanity that took the lives of the people who built the village.
so going to this fairy village and planning an overnight camping trip is probably
It's
out of the question.
probably not the smartest thing to do.
Now, is it private property? So in the terms of if somebody did want to do that, like you can visit it, or is it just in the woods where if you did want to like camp there, could you?
Well,
Do we know that?
I'm gonna get to that. I'm gonna get
Oh,
to it.
I'm sorry.
It's
See,
coming.
these are the
These are the
questions.
questions, but this one I have an answer for.
Oh, good.
So I mentioned earlier that if you peer in and you see it during the intro, that there's a throne that is among this fairy village. And supposedly it was a throne that was carved directly into the rock formation that is there by a bewitched builder.
Hmm.
So somebody who stumbled upon this village and the voices got to him. And apparently it was at the request of the king of the little people, bewitched the man and had him carve a throne into the side of a rock. And the legend is that if you sit in this cursed seat, you start a countdown that you will die within 7 years of sitting on it.
Whoa. How many people have said, I'm going to do it and see if I die? And how many people did? I want to know.
I don't know. Right.
I need to know these stats.
So now that's a wild, wild legend. But here's the truth of it. That a lot of people really don't bother. Now, very few, like I said, very few people know about it. And there are very few people who have ventured into it. So, the truth of the Little People Village is that it's a very simple answer. That it was once an elaborate attraction on a trolley line that was part of the nearby Lake Quasi. I think it's Quasi, I think is the name of it. Amusement park. It was built in the early part of the 20th century, and it was simply known as the Fairy Village.
I'm very upset at this.
The throne appears to have been just part of an ornamental garden, and all the other structures, the little houses, were just little concrete molds and that were part of a trolley stop. And people could get off the trolley and look around the fairy village, sit on the throne, take your photo. I guess, did they have photo? That was very early on.
They had photos.
They had
Black
a
and
guy
white,
there with the
grainy
flame
photos.
ones that just and the big.
I'm so sad that there's a legitimate
So listen,
origin to
if there's
this.
if I can find where this story comes from, I'm gonna report it. So what happened is that the theme park went out of business. The trolley line shut down. And since it ceased running, there was no way to reach the attraction anymore. It was like out of the way. And it was no longer visited. People forgot about it, and it fell into disrepair.
That's sad.
So the truth of the matter is, the Little People Village was never the work of an insane man, was never the work of a witch. It was just entrepreneurs looking to make a few bucks.
I like the story of I mean, I would call it probably schizophrenia. Like if you're hearing voices,
Yeah, that's definitely
right? I mean, that and he thinks he's hearing these fairy voices, but in all honesty, anybody who heard voices, you're probably today would be diagnosed with schizophrenia.
sure.
So, um, yeah, no, I don't like the real truth behind this. This is
No,
very
me neither.
sad that it's not.
It's
It's
really,
not like something built for what people thought were fairies.
yeah, I like the idea of whimsy.
Yeah, whimsy, and you know what? Let's go bring some, and we'll make little scary ones. We'll make little scary fairies, and
And
we'll
put them
pose
in the
them,
village.
put them in the village,
Well,
and bring back the lore of it.
supposedly, from what I was reading, is that a lot of the houses were destroyed.
Mm.
Seems a lot of the area was vandalized.
Aw, see, this is why we can't have
This
nice
way you can't have
things.
anything, yeah.
Ugh.
But this kind of thing happens, that these attractions and just a simple just roadside attraction was, built, loved, forgotten about, and then rediscovered many, many years later. Now imagine being the first person to stumble upon that, not having a clue that,
Mhm.
I'm from this area. I didn't know there was a theme
Yeah,
park in this area, that there was a trolley line that ran here and brought, families here to
yeah.
explore this fairy village. And I'm just hiking in the woods and I come across this random village of small houses.
Right, what would you think?
Right. It's like you're gonna, and then starts the game of telephone.
Mhm.
It's wild.
It is wild. Aw, so it is something I'd like to visit.
So I mean, it's visitable. It's in either, what was it, Waterbury or
Or
Millbury? Midbury,
Midbury?
Millbury. I think it was Millbury.
Millbury?
Yeah, Waterbury or Millbury.
Now, do we know where the, theme park was and what's there now?
I don't think there's anything there now.
Is it just land, like
It's
cleared
just land.
land?
I think it's just it was a small, in the
Very small attraction.
early 20th century. So what is that? The early 1900s.
I wonder where the trolleys are now. I love abandoned things like that.
Yeah, me too.
Hmm.
And it was just a small little trolley stop, a part of this Lake Queasy or Quasi amusement park.
Lake Queasy, like you're
Quasi. It's
nauseous?
Quassy. Quasi.
Maybe Quasi or Quasi.
Quasi. Or is the
Quasi.
Q silent and is Lake Uwasi?
I don't know.
Probably not. Probably none of those pronunciations.
I'm not sure, but I'm hoping it's not Queasy.
Lake Queasy.
Come here and do throwing ups.
Yeah. Enjoy vomit and the fairy village.
Oh my god. Well,
Have,
regardless, I like this because I think being able to explore some international origins of the lore is fun, and especially talking about Ireland, I always love to do. So,
well, that's always, I mean, all of these folklores and stories,
yeah.
they start international. There's very few, unless they're from Native Americans.
Mm. Which can be wild. I think are some of the
Oh,
most
I've talked about it. Known a
wild.
ton of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are very, very crazy. A lot
Mhm.
of fun. Yeah. So that's it, folks. That's the story of the fairy village of Waterbury or Millbury or whatever, Berry, Connecticut. Linked in truth. And yeah. Well, thank you, folks, for joining me. Thank you, folks, for joining us. I keep saying me, but I don't mean me, because it's not.
It's
just
okay.
me anymore.
You're still the star of the show. I'm just here.
No, we know the truth. We know the truth.
I have a couple fans. It's fun. It's
Oh,
fun to
yeah.
have a couple people who like me. I will admit.
Yeah, I bet it's great.
People like you too. You've had comments where people say they love your storytelling.
Yeah, well, it's different now. All right, folks. Thank you so much for joining us.
Let's stop inflating Megan's ego.
Yeah, Megan's head can only get any bigger. I'd like to thank everybody for the kind reviews and the comments on Spotify. Thank you all so much. I also want to give a shout to the newest members of the Patreon, Rachel and Doug. Thank you so much for joining. Your support literally means the world. I say it every time a new member joins. Please just know my gratitude and literally the lifeblood of the show. Without it, we would got nothing. If you'd like to join the Patreon, patreon.com/Haunted American History. Early releases, Discord access, free episodes, and my eternal gratitude.
I love the Discord. I'll chat
Yeah,
with you.
Megan's a big Discord person.
I don't understand Discord. I just, long story short, I signed up back in 2020 when I was learning how to play Call of Duty, and we were talking to our friends on Discord, but now I've come back.
Megan loves it.
It's so fun. I love to talk to everybody. So yeah, join the Discord channel and we'll chat.
Yeah, a lot of fun. All right, folks. Thank you all so much, and later.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, bye.
Bye.
Hope you find your dad.